Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 119th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio. How's it go?
I think you said it right.
In beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle? We're just rolling with it.
We're rolling with it. All right. I'm great, first of all. It is a beautiful, beautiful day.
Everybody that skipped the intro is now having to rewind.
Yeah. I mowed the lawn today.
It's insanely beautiful.
Like mid-December, mowed the lawn and like comfortably in like shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah. Sometimes I just straight up lie and say it's a beautiful day in Springfield, Missouri, but the last 2 days.
You told the truth today.
Incredible. Well, Kyle, we got a lot to talk about. I've said that week after week.
Jam-packed, as they say.
Yeah, you could say that. Football and basketball overlapping. There's a lot of stuff going on. Missouri's winning, though, and that's all that matters. We're going to talk about, obviously, the Arkansas game. That's going to be probably the biggest chunk of this episode. We're going to preview Georgia. Huge game. And we do have some news, but we'll just kind of sprinkle it in here and there where it applies. And then we have 2 wins in basketball to talk about. And then the biggest game of the year so far, matchup against Illinois.
Saturday is going to be huge.
Yeah, it's going to be lit, as the kids say.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's start with this Arkansas game, though. We'll just take it chronologically.
Okay.
There's too many.
It's going to be hard for me to do.
There's too many moments. There's too many big moments.
I'm already excited.
Missouri jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Bazelak, though, got hit in the legs very first possession. Thought disaster struck.
It looked awful.
Yeah. Looked bad. It was penalized. Brady Cook came in for one play.
And like fumbled.
Well,
he like dropped the snap.
Yeah. It was
like, here we go.
Yeah. But Bazelak was fine. He came right back in. Harrison Mevis got a 51-yard field goal early in the game. Yeah, Mizzou jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Everything was looking good. I thought maybe we were looking at a blowout for half a second. But Arkansas got on the board early with a 12-play drive featuring 6 K.J. Jefferson rushes. So let's talk about that. No Felipe Franks. And immediately, I think we're starting to finally break the curse of the backup quarterback, but immediately backup quarterback PTSD sets in.
Yeah. I think he was probably, obviously he was thrust into this role. Probably that day he found out he was going to be the starter, which is probably nobody wants to prepare that way.
I think Pittman said at halftime that they knew that morning that Franks wasn't going to go.
He started off kind of slow, but honestly, and you said we're going to do this chronologically, but I'm already breaking the rules. I was pretty impressed with KJ Jefferson. Especially in his like first start ever. I thought he played a pretty good game, and obviously as the game went on, he was pretty threatening.
Made plays, yes. Yeah. I skipped over Mizzou's first touchdown drive. It was a 12-play touchdown drive of their own, and I wanted to spotlight the 3rd and short end-around handoff to Smith.
Boo Smith?
Oh, yeah. Easy first down.
Yeah.
Missouri offense making it look easy at the beginning. Mizzou added another field goal before KJ Jefferson had one of his first huge plays of the game. 68-yard touchdown to, what's his first name? Traylon. Traylon Burks. 2 Traylons in this game for Arkansas, making plays.
Yeah, Burks had a massive day.
But they tied the game at 13. They had missed the previous extra point on their first touchdown, so that factors back in later in the game. And the teams early just kind of went back and forth with touchdowns. It was obvious at that point there was going to be a shootout, and our predictions kind of went out the window. Everybody's predictions went out the window.
Yeah,
I think most people kind of thought we were looking at a defensive struggle, 2 really good defensive coordinators, teams that know each other, and offenses that can have spells where they just can't do anything, and it was all offense pretty much all game.
I've been massively wrong in my game predictions.
Our predictions have been pretty bad
lately. South Carolina, I thought that would be like a shootout. It was like a defensive struggle, and I thought Vanderbilt game might be kind of close, and that was not. And then of course this game we thought would be a defensive battle, and it was a complete shootout.
All right, first real thing we got to just take our time with and really break down, and that is after a Mizzou punt, Arkansas was driving when Nick Bolton, late in the second quarter, broke up a pass over the middle. He was flagged for targeting. The play was reviewed. It was upheld. Ejected not to return for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows where we're going with this. That was an absolutely atrocious call. And I honestly, like, after seeing the replay, I was, like, at peace that, like, okay, well, at least he will be able to stay in the game. Yeah. We're going to get a bogus 15-yard penalty for this and an automatic first down, but at least he'll be able to keep playing. And somehow they looked at that on their, like, the screen the size of a Game Boy and were able to deem that was targeting. Their heads never touched. It was like a shoulder to the chest almost, and it's just an utterly ridiculous call.
Yeah, so live, I thought, well, that sucks.
Yeah,
that's targeting.
Yeah.
And then the first replay I saw, I thought, well, I don't know if their heads hit, but I can tell from this angle at least, there's no way to know. Because they could have very easily, even though he hit him with his shoulder, very easily the helmets could have hit, and that's a flag, and I would have had no problem with it. However, the more you look at it from different angles, you see that the closest their heads ever get to touching is when Bolton just obliterates the guy, and his head keeps moving forward because it didn't touch anything.
Yeah, that guy was completely airborne.
Yeah.
He got jacked up for sure.
Yeah. So the play was upheld. Mizzou fans obviously very upset. The announcers live, they were kind of mixed on it, but they weren't really paying attention to that one angle that made it pretty obvious.
I'm pretty sure the guy that actually threw the flag for the penalty was not the person that was like right in front of the play.
Right. And I feel like from where the flag was thrown, he had the best look at that angle that showed their heads never touched.
Yeah.
So that was really confusing.
Yeah.
When they kicked it back to the studio and kind of got a reaction maybe around halftime, the studio guys were like, I don't know about that one. However, I don't know if you saw this, but the SEC responded to the controversial call, and I have a quote from them. They just said, the player was determined to be in violation of NCAA Rule 914, which is as follows: targeting and making forcible contact to the head or neck area of a defenseless player. No player shall target and make forcible contact to the head or neck area of a defenseless opponent with the helmet, forearm, hand, fist, elbow, or shoulder. When in question, it is a foul.
Shoulder?
To the head or neck area,
okay.
Which didn't happen.
Oh, yeah. Defenseless player, I mean, do we really know what that is?
I think if you're asking me, and I'm trying to put my impartial observer hat on.
Of course.
He made forcible contact to a defenseless opponent for sure. I'll go with you there 100%. He did it with his shoulder, but there was no contact to the head or neck area. That's where I stand on it. And there's been plenty of plays that Mizzou has made where I've said, well, yep, that's targeting. No question about that. He'll be out, whatever, the rest of the game or first half in the next game. This just wasn't one of those.
Yeah. Well, at least he doesn't get to miss any more time.
Yeah.
He gets to play the full game against Georgia. This was kind of weird. Like, I when we got to this point in the game, we got to halftime, I was not, like, feeling that great because, not only were we losing at the time, but momentum had been kind of shifting against us, and we just lost our best player. And the game line, the kind of storylines were about Nick Bolton, a lot of them, and he just
Missouri's best player.
Felt like it didn't quite get his chance to prove the doubters wrong.
Last home game, most likely,
potentially,
most definitely. Arkansas, obviously they scored one more time before halftime. They took a 27-20 lead into the break, and I was fuming.
Well, at this point, it already felt like, I was very furious as well. But at this point, it just kind of felt like I'm not sure either team can stop each other.
Right.
And we're down a touchdown, and they get the ball after halftime. And so I think that was one reason why I did not feel good about
Kyle, did you know that Arkansas themselves were a victim, apparently, of a bad targeting call that left their star safety out of the first half against Missouri?
I heard.
Man, a lot of Arkansas fans were ready to say, well, we dealt with it too.
Yeah.
Like that was any kind of, justification. Like, okay, Kyle, we've been dealing with some some fan bases lately. Arkansas fan base, they're a different breed. Now, we're going to talk in a little bit about Illinois. Their fan base on the basketball side has been interesting to deal with on Twitter. And, man, all you can do is hope that your team wins in
Pretty
those
much.
situations. Because if they lose, you just have to be okay with just not saying anything.
Yeah.
And just moving on.
Basically.
And it's hard to do. And it's very frustrating to see these other fan bases get to celebrate.
Oh, man, I was like, yeah, that was part of the reason why I was so angry. It was like, we're going to lose this game. Like, and we're going to I'm going to deal with the aftermath on Twitter, and I don't want to do that. But we've been very fortunate the last few years. Like, obviously, we've beaten Arkansas 5 times in a row. We've beaten Illinois 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
We haven't had to deal with the aftermath in a while. So hopefully that's not coming anytime soon.
Right. Mizzou defense, though, they kind of showed that they were maybe up for the challenge. Right at the beginning of the second half, they did force a 3 and out. Unfortunately, though, Missouri's offense had to settle for yet another field goal. We'll get to the field goals in a minute. Harrison Mevis was spectacular in this game. But I just kept having this feeling like these field goals are going to come back to haunt us, not getting in the end zone at the end of these possessions.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like 8 to... one of these was a 14-play drive that ended in a field goal.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of demoralizing from a fan standpoint. But
yeah, it's amazing we scored 50 points in this game, and we kicked so many field goals.
Right.
Yeah, just couldn't finish in the red zone very often.
Arkansas had 2 more touchdowns in the third quarter, or one right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Their second touchdown there made it 40-26 with 13 minutes left in the game. And that was
feeling bad
at
that time.
40-26, fourth quarter. And even though Missouri's offense had been successful, that's when I was just thinking, like, not having touchdowns here is killing us. And Arkansas not having to settle for field goals, even though they had, I think at this point, now missed 2 extra points.
Yeah. One of them was blocked, I think, or something. But their kicker was clearly struggling.
Right. So even if Missouri had made a few stops on third down, there's a decent chance Arkansas is going for it with their kicker issues, and we'll see them go for something later. But just when all hope began to fade, Bazelak hit the star of the fourth quarter, Damon Hazelton, for a 29-yard gain. Then Tyler Beatty scored from 46 yards out, and they had a touchdown in just 34 seconds of game time.
Yeah, they had to do that
Yes.
to be able to get back in the game. And the fourth quarter defense for Arkansas was atrocious. Or maybe it was just because Missouri's offense was so good. But guys, I love Tyler Beatty. I'm just going to throw that out there. Honestly, he saved this game by his explosive ability to just get in the end zone. He can score from anywhere, and he did that multiple times in this quarter.
Yeah, Tyler Beatty definitely overshadowed in this one, but it's just looking at his stat line, 6 carries for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's efficient.
And it's going to be actually we'll save it because we'll spotlight Roundtree in a sec because he has a huge play of his own coming up. Missouri's defense forced an Arkansas punt. Mizzou scored another touchdown, this time with a 32-yard completion to Hazelton and then a 25-yarder to Kiki Chisholm. That tied the game at 40. And that was really quick. Missouri was right back in it, tied it up at 40, and they just kept going. Yeah. They got another stop. Jeffcoat got a sack on that drive. Mizzou just needed 4 plays this time, and this is where we get the 46-yard run from Roundtree and then a 25-yard touchdown by Beatty. And Missouri takes a 7-point lead. And what a turn of events.
Oh, man.
You go from, like, thinking... I know there were fans out there that would probably turn the game off, and if I wasn't going to have to come and talk about it with you, I may have been, like, close to that point where I was like, okay, I'm going to turn this off for 2 minutes, and I'll turn it back on and see what's going on. But...
yeah, they scored like 20-something unanswered points in like 5 or 6 minutes. It was just unbelievable.
So Roundtree, 27 carries for 185 yards and 3 touchdowns. Pretty nice encore after his 165-yard performance last week. He's just playing out of his mind right now.
He really is, and it's so nice to have all the offensive line guys back, and everybody's just kind of working in sync right now. Missouri's offense can function pretty well and through the air and on the ground, and so that's obviously really difficult to defend. They can kind of do everything well right now, and that was just baffling Arkansas in the second half, or in the fourth quarter really, of this game. And I don't know what happened in this game. At some point, Arkansas just decided they were done playing defense, and obviously Grant Morgan got hurt, so that helped quite a bit for Missouri's case. But, I mean, man, in the fourth quarter, Missouri was doing anything they wanted on offense.
It was insane. Of course, the good times were short-lived. Arkansas did answer back with a 13-play, 75-yard touchdown drive. That drive pretty much had everything. They recovered their own fumble. They converted a 4th and 1 when they should have been stopped 2 yards short.
I'm pretty sure there was should have been an interception by somebody on that drive.
Yeah.
That might have come later. I don't know.
Well, one definitely comes later.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Well, no, that's not what I'm thinking of.
So they have the opportunity to either tie the game with an extra point or go for 2 in the lead. And, of course, I think everybody watching the game knew.
Before they even scored, I knew if they scored, they're going for 2, and they're probably going to get it.
Right.
And that's how this thing's going to unfortunately end.
Although nobody could have predicted what actually happened here. The pass was terrible. It literally bounces off of Jamal Brooks' hands and arms and body, and then right into the hands of Arkansas wide receiver Mike Woods, who had just scored the touchdown.
I mean, aside from them, you don't see that very often. Like a team going for 2 with less than a minute to go in the game for the win. That's bold.
Yeah.
And, I mean, their kicker had been struggling all game, so it makes total sense. They had some momentum on that drive. They've been playing well on offense. It makes sense for Arkansas to just try and end the game right there.
But that's such a huge play for them. I mean, if you don't get that, it's over.
Over 100%, yeah. And I can't think of a more Mizzou way for that game to end. If that's how it ended, if there was less time on the clock, Jamal Brooks, I mean, man, I have followed Jamal Brooks on Twitter for a long time. He's loved by his teammates. He seems like just the greatest dude in the world. I would hate to see something like that happen where the game is lost because of that play, because that would live in infamy for the rest of Missouri football history because of how easy that interception should have been. I mean, it was just – it doesn't get any easier than that.
And what's crazy is he shouldn't have even been in the game.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, that's Nick Bolton's play, which I predicted. The Nick Bolton interception.
You did predict that.
And the refs took it from me.
That's true.
But and also Jamal Brooks was in on the play, that 4th down play where Arkansas converted, even though he got first contact like 2 or 3 yards. In front of the line. Yeah,
he played well, or he played all right in backing up Nick Bolton, but
I mean, nobody expected him to come out and be Nick Bolton, but
well, sure, but that game should have ended right there.
Yeah,
and when it didn't, when that happened, I was like on all fours on the ground, like. I was just absolutely beside myself. Like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't believe that either. Now, by this point, my wife, Emily, who is not super interested in sports, she was watching because this was kind of a crazy ending to this game.
Yeah.
And she actually said, like, why did he need to catch it? And I'm like, well, no, but like intuitively, you just catch it.
Yeah.
I mean, most people, if they're in that situation, obviously if he catches it, it's game over.
Right.
If he bats it down, it's game over.
Right.
And the more natural thing to do is just catch it.
Yeah. It's kind of falling back.
Yeah. What a play.
I got to say, I recovered. I stood back up, and I what was there, 43 seconds left or something like that?
Yep.
And I think I even tweeted, we've got 43 seconds left. We've got Harrison Mevis.
Yeah. 3 timeouts.
We got 3 timeouts. Arkansas has played abysmally on defense, and we've looked really good on offense. Yeah. This thing's not over. It's unlikely, but it's not over at all.
And that's one thing Emily actually said was, well, they got 3 timeouts. And I was like, yeah, you're right. They didn't even need those timeouts.
No,
this drive was incredible.
They were down in field goal range in like 20 seconds of game time.
And
they even ran a play when they didn't really need to.
Right. Yeah, they ran the ball twice.
Yeah.
Here on this last possession. Immediately, Bazelak hits Hazleton for 14-yarder. Then Bannister for 18 yards. Got it all the way down in 2 plays to the Arkansas 38-yard line with 26 seconds left. Then he hits Hazleton again for 12. Bannister again for 10. And just like that, we're at the Arkansas 17-yard line with 13 seconds left.
Yeah. I mean, having timeouts is so huge here for multiple reasons, but it doesn't, when you don't have timeouts, it limits what you can do on play calling. You have to throw to the sideline. You got to get out of bounds. So you're never really throwing to the middle of the field. And with timeouts, that's...
And the defense knows that.
Right. That's eliminated. Yeah. And so they can't just zero in on one specific play call.
Right. The fact that I said they didn't need the timeouts, but just having them, like you're saying, allowed them to complete these sideline throws easier.
Yeah.
And I just want to spotlight Damon Hazleton here because he had, let's see here, 93 yards on the game, I think, and 87 of them came in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he and Chisholm both really stepped up in this game. If you would have watched the fourth quarter of this game and you hadn't watched any other Mizzou football all year, you'd think these guys were like our superstars.
You'd think that Bazelak had like 600 passing yards and they each had 200.
Yeah.
Because they could just do whatever they wanted. Like if you didn't know the score.
Yeah. I think both of those guys would probably agree that it's been a kind of a disappointing season for them individually. But, Chisholm's really come on lately and Hazleton had a great game. They kind of they were who we needed them to be in the fourth quarter of this game.
They've got that eligibility if they want to run it back.
I'd love that.
Yeah, let's give it another shot. Yeah, like we said, they actually handed it off to Beatty one time before bringing out Harrison Mevis for a 32-yard attempt to win the game. There was only 3 seconds left. The clock was stopped, so this was going to be it. There was going to be no time left, and he nailed it.
Yeah, Arkansas iced him twice,
of course. Which I hated. Holy
me too.
Crap.
I was already about to throw up.
Yes.
And I was like pacing around my house.
I was livid at everything the whole game. I was just mad watching this game. And even when Missouri came back and took the lead and all that kind of stuff, even in this moment,
you're still mad.
Just every time they showed an Arkansas player or coach or just one of the referees, I just didn't have nice things in my brain that I was thinking about them. And I regret it, honestly, a little bit. And I don't wish ill upon any of them. But, man,
next year.
I was not happy. Yeah. Well, I'll think happy thoughts about them since we won. We don't have to see them again for almost a year.
Man, there's something about this team. Keeps getting me all choked up and stuff. Like after we get a big win, and I just like think about how far this team has come, and I think about guys like Bolton and Roundtree and their careers at Missouri and what they've accomplished, and I just start thinking all that stuff, and it's crazy. And I'm glad we've got Coach Drinkwitz. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
But, man, it's been an incredible season so far. I honestly feel like we could lose the next 2 games of the season and it would still be an overwhelming success.
Yes.
Like we have surpassed what anybody thought we could do, except for me.
We could still surpass that, though.
We still, yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
If you didn't know, Harrison Mevis did make that last kick. Missouri won the game 50-48, which is a score I don't think I saw anybody predict. I think the highest I saw somebody had Mizzou. Somebody had Arkansas winning. Some actual media type person had Arkansas winning like 35-24 or something.
Yeah, I saw
that
a
was
lot
the
of
highest.
I saw a lot of Arkansas predictions for like SEC media type people this week.
So Harrison Mevis finished the game 5 for 5 on field goals, a 51-yarder, his first one, and then obviously that shorter one, but with all the pressure in the world. And he had a funny comment where he was asked about them icing him, taking 2 consecutive timeouts, which I feel like it should be like basketball, like that's a penalty if you do that. But he said it just gave me a little bit of extra time to prepare, and I can't remember his exact quote, but he thought he was better for it.
Yeah, he knew he was going to make it before he went out there.
He said, "Advantage me," when a team does that.
I love it. The dude is so confident.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't see that from a freshman kicker very often. That's crazy. He's been phenomenal really all season.
And a guy that just kind of quietly did pretty much everything right is Connor Bazelak. Another game where he played lights out with no touchdowns.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So he's like having one of the better freshman quarterback seasons in Mizzou history.
Yeah, they keep getting it down inside like the 5 or 10,
Yeah.
and Roundtree punches it in.
Right. Yeah, I think he's got like, I'd have to look it up, but he's got like 6 touchdowns and 3 interceptions on the season.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
but like in a lot of yards.
Yes, and a lot of attempts.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think he had a third of the attempts that he has.
Yeah.
And he's up over 2,000 yards on the season. But he was just, I don't know. Like I know it's like it's cliche and like redundant now. Like every announcing crew says it, but he ran the wishbone in high school. No.
Really? You're gonna go into this?
He doesn't look like a freshman.
No.
Like he looks more, dare I say, he looks more poised in the pocket throwing the ball than Drew Lock ever did.
I knew you were gonna say it, and I think I agree. He the mental part of his game he's special.
Yeah.
And he's so comfortable and just knows where to go with the ball, and he's clutch, man. He's clutch in a way that Drew Lock never was at Mizzou. And Drew Lock, we've talked about it many times before. Video game numbers, he's clearly incredibly talented physically.
Top 5 Mizzou quarterback all time.
But just never
Conservatively
could quite put together wins.
Yeah.
And like was not that great in those really important moments.
Right.
And Bazelak has been that so far.
Drew Lock would have 4 touchdown passes.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, he would have thrown for 4 touchdowns, 500 yards.
Yeah.
And they, and who knows what would have happened.
It's just crazy. I mean,
I think a lot of that's probably coaching too, to some degree.
Well, the coaches have said that that's just kind of like the way he goes about it is just like it's just very workmanlike. Like he doesn't get up or down. And it reminds me of, which this is an easy call, it reminds me of James Franklin, just how he looked throwing the ball. And I remember the kind of like jarring transition from James Franklin to Matty Mock, where Matty Mock had this much more like frantic looking style where he was rolling out everywhere and, making spectacular plays.
Yeah.
But it just looked more frantic.
Right. Well, he was kind of like Drew Lock in the way that they're always looking for the home run play all the time.
Yeah.
And, James Franklin, Connor Bazelak, a little more calculated.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to see Connor Bazelak do is get the flea flicker pitched back to him and then throw it to the underneath receiver.
Yeah.
Like you never see
He's
that.
wide open.
That play is designed, obviously, for this home run hit. And for a quarterback for it to be that smooth of a play on the front end, the quarterback's like, well, we got this far. I got to take the deep shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine going through that play, it being successful, and then not launching the ball as far as you can.
Yeah.
And he just looks up, sees, they got that covered. Well, this guy's wide open. I'll hit him instead.
We'll take the 30-yard gain.
Gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah. It makes me so happy to know that we are in good hands at the quarterback position, the most important position on the field for potentially 3-4 more seasons. And, at some point we're going to have to talk about the other quarterbacks in the room because we're still recruiting quarterbacks, and there's a lot of talented guys that are going to be in that quarterback room. So I'm not sure that it's just Bazelak's job for the next 4 years, no matter what. But if it is, I think we're going to be just fine.
Yeah. And Bazelak talks like he's going to be here for 5 seasons.
Yeah, I love it.
In total. Like he's like, oh, I get another freshman year next year. So
it's insane.
You'll be seeing a lot of me.
Yeah. Did you think it was ironic that, maybe not even ironic, or just we expected it, but Barry Odom's defense completely fell apart at the end of this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's like
It's poetic.
Yeah. I'm just imagining it in reverse, though. And it's like, well, this is what would have happened the other way around probably, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I could just see it. It just made sense that Missouri was able to make that comeback and just shred them the entire fourth quarter. But I could easily have seen Arkansas doing the same to Missouri last year, 2 years ago.
I would have paid a lot of money to be a fly on the wall in that like little room that the defensive coordinators were up in, the press box.
Oh yeah.
As that collapse was happening at the end of that game, man, I would love to see Barry Odom's reaction to how that game ended. It's brutal.
Well, they were without their safety, their big time safety in the first half, and then they're there
you go.
The baddest guy,
Grant Morgan.
Yeah, he got hurt, so
yeah, there you go. And they were historically bad in the last 5 years.
Yeah, there's reasons for these things.
That's true. One thing I wanted to say just about Coach Drinkwitz before we move on to something else. One thing I've noticed about him this year a couple of times, I really noticed it in this game, is that he does something so well, and that's that he uses formations they've run this year, and kind of he knows that other teams are going to study them on film and what they've done on offense, and he uses that to our advantage by lining up in formation and then doing something completely different with it that we've done earlier in the season. And he just understands the long game so well of the season, where he doesn't just blow everything on one play. He's able to use that later in the season, because there's one specific play where Elijah Young's on the field. He's lined up out wide. He starts running like he's going to get a reverse. And earlier in the season, I think we've handed it off to him for a couple of different times, and he's got a nice gain on it. And they ran that play a couple of different times in this game. Elijah Young lines up wide, starts running towards the quarterback like he's going to get it on a reverse, and the defense kind of starts stacking to that side because they know he's getting the ball, because he's not on the field that much.
Right.
And so when they see number 4 on the field start running like he's going to get a reverse, they just know that's what's going to happen. But they didn't. They handed it off. They faked the handoff to him and gave it to Roundtree. And Roundtree had 2 huge gains, and one of them was a touchdown where he had nobody in front of him. And I just love that Coach Drinkwitz just thinks that way, and he knows that they're going to be scouted. He knows that Arkansas knows exactly what to expect, and he just was able to trick them by kind of using past plays and formations they've run in other games. And I'm sure I
feel like that's also true of the Boo Smith play, where usually when it's him, they fake it to him, and they almost always hand it off to Roundtree. So then a couple of times this season they've given it to him, and it's been a huge play.
Yeah.
And I think it helps a lot in the passing game. I mean, this goes right back into what we were saying about Bazelak. I think it'll be hard for Drinkwitz to trust another quarterback the way he does Connor Bazelak, because of just like what I was saying, how unless he's just drilling that into him, that, for example, on the flea flicker, unless he's drilling it into him, this underneath guy is going to be open more often. I feel like you would have to focus on that so much in preparation for a quarterback not to just automatically take the deep shot every time. And I have a feeling that if Drinkwitz tried to make a change at quarterback ever, that, I don't know.
You'd have to go through those growing pains again of a new guy wanting to make the home run play all the time or something.
And it just seems like Bazelak has that instinct to be able to kind of dissect the play and see what's going to work.
Yeah.
And if he can just, I mean, I feel like I'm asking a lot here because he's so good already, but if he can just shore up his accuracy on some intermediate throws a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, some of that, you never know how much of that's on a wide receiver on a given play. But there's just a few plays every game where he's just not quite on the same page, and that's going to happen sometimes. But, getting 25% better there would be just monumental.
Right. And again, I don't. I guess I will go back to Drew Lock just to make one more comparison. And I don't want to destroy Drew Lock here because obviously we're huge fans and he did incredible things at Mizzou. But one other thing that
he's not on the table. Coincidence?
Wow, we're really turning our back on
hate
him. One thing that I think Bazelak also does better is I think Drew Lock a lot of the times knew where he's going to throw the ball before he even hiked the ball. And that's something that Bazelak clearly does not do. I think he does a good job looking off the safety, kind of goes through his reads and his progressions, and he finds the open guy. And Drew Lock, I don't think he did that very much, especially early on.
Well, I don't think Heupel made him do that.
No.
I think Heupel instructed him to you're going to throw it to this guy on this play.
Yeah, you're not going to read the field.
Part of me thinks that Drew was like, all right, fine by me.
Yeah, and it was, yeah.
I'm just looking over the stats real quick to see if there's anything else we need to point out. Obviously, Bolton being gone for the second half is a huge deal, but Missouri's defense didn't look great even before he was gone. They got faked out completely a handful of times on that fake pitch, but then the same guy takes the handoff. That was ugly a few times. Traylon Smith, the running back that we kind of talked about in the preview, obviously he's their go-to guy now with Rakeem Boyd gone. 26 carries for 172 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, we got carved up in the second half for sure. That was a glaring concern that I was kind of able to see past because we won the game. But,
yeah,
I mean, we have to play infinitely better on defense going forward if we want to have a chance to beat Georgia or Mississippi State.
Speaking of going forward and playing Georgia, after the Arkansas game, Missouri is now 5-3 on the season, and they have a nice new, fresh number 25 ranking in the college football playoff rankings.
Beautiful.
Connor Bazelak was named SEC Freshman of the Week.
Again.
Harrison Mevis was named SEC Special Teams Player of the Week. I thought you might say again.
I was hoping.
I don't know if that's multiple though.
I didn't fall for your tricks.
Is Bazelak? Who else is out there like for SEC Freshman of the Year?
I have no idea.
Me neither.
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Probably somebody.
Probably some.
Bazelak should be on the short list for that.
I think was LSU's tight end who's potentially looking around a freshman. I've heard he might transfer away from LSU. I don't know.
He could be a freshman. That's definitely possible.
Eric something. I don't know.
Eric something could be a freshman.
Research department.
Anyway, number 25 Mizzou now takes on number 9 Georgia. We get them at home in Columbia. A little bit about Georgia. Georgia is 6-2 in the season. Their only losses to Alabama and Florida. I got a nice little juicy stat here for you.
Okay.
In those 2 losses, the average score, obviously, doesn't favor Georgia, but the average score in those 2 losses is 42-26. It's pretty bad. Now, in their 6 wins, those came over Arkansas, Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and South Carolina. Average score in those games, 33-13. So in wins, they're outscoring their opponent by 20. In losses, they're getting outscored by about 15.
So in other words,
they're giving up 42 points.
They're losing to good teams and beating bad teams that are bad.
Yeah. I mean,
have they had a close game this year?
Not
or is
really.
Everyone they've won big and lost big?
Yeah. Their closest game was to Kentucky, I think.
They actually
14-3.
That's interesting. They actually really struggled in the first half against Arkansas earlier this year, but they had a different quarterback at that time.
Yeah, we'll get to the quarterback situation here. Mississippi State, 31-24 was the final on that one. That was just 2 weeks ago. But I think that was new quarterback's first start. So it's been a wild year for Georgia quarterbacks. Wake Forest transfer Jamie Newman was supposed to be the starter. And they got a new offensive coordinator. It's going to be more high-powered, throw the ball around, score a bunch of points. But then Newman opted out and decided he was just going to prep for the NFL, which just completely derailed anything they had going on offense. And I can't imagine being in that situation where you've got a guy, he was a transfer, imagine Missouri going and getting Kelly Bryant, and then he just opts out.
Was that the guy they had at first who struggled in the first half of...
No.
Okay.
He never played.
Gotcha.
So then they went with a combination of 2 guys named Stetson Bennett and DeJuan Mathis. They combined to complete under 55% of their passes for 9 touchdowns and 9 interceptions in a handful of games. Didn't look good. Quarterback situation was ugly. But then they have another guy on their roster. Sure enough, Georgia has a USC transfer, former blue chip recruit, JT Daniels, who was rehabbing an injury, but then he was back ready to go, and he is completing 70% of his passes, thrown for 6 touchdowns and just 1 interception in, I think, just 2 games.
Yeah, he's been pretty good.
Yeah. So they've got a guy now, and
of course they do.
They're going to be totally fine.
4-stringer.
Yeah, they had to resort to their 4-string former 5-star quarterback, transfer from one of the most storied programs in the country, and they'll be just fine, I think. And of course, being Georgia, they can run the ball. They've got, what did I write down here? 5 players with 25 plus carries, and the worst among them averages over 4 yards per carry.
Yeah, that's easily the most frightening thing about this game is Missouri could not stop Traylon Smith last week, and Georgia is so far superior in the run game than Arkansas is. So that's terrifying for sure.
Have Nick Bolton back, though.
That is true.
He's due for a nice 15-tackle game. I don't know. I've been pretty pessimistic, Kyle, privately to you regarding Missouri's chances in this game. I think, kind of like what we were just saying. I mean, if Arkansas can put up nearly 50, even with Nick Bolton, you think we're going to hold Georgia under 30 points? I don't see it.
I don't know, man. Sometimes the transitive property just doesn't work in college football, and weird stuff happens, and game plans are different. And just because we couldn't stop Arkansas doesn't mean we can't stop Georgia. It probably means that, but it doesn't necessarily mean it for sure. I do think that Georgia, and I think I said this last week, Georgia is a little bit more vulnerable this year than they've been in previous years. Their defense is still excellent. I'm not sure it's superior like it has been, but they're still great in stopping the run game. They are great on the ground, like we said. But I think that Missouri can potentially take advantage of the quarterback situation. He's been pretty good, but I think Missouri's defense can present challenges for him, and he's inexperienced.
Yeah, you almost have to. If I'm Missouri's defense, obviously I'm no defensive coordinator, but I got to just sell out to stop the run all game.
I think so, yeah.
And just tell the defensive backs, like, hey, you got to just do your best out there, and we're going to try to get some pressure and stop the run.
I agree. Sometimes you may have to sacrifice a little bit pass rush to make sure you kind of hold the gaps and kind of contain, but I think that's what you do. I think you have to sell out to stop the run because that's what Georgia does really well.
And if Georgia decides that they're going to take some shots down the field, then let them try it.
Yeah, make the quarterback beat you.
Yeah. You mentioned Georgia's run defense. They hold opponents to an average of 75 yards per game on the ground. So Missouri coming off of...
They never played Larry Roundtree this year.
That's true. And they don't know how good Tyler Beatty is.
Ooh.
But that duo has been unstoppable last couple games.
It will be interesting to see Larry Roundtree, who's been phenomenal the last 3 or 4 weeks, go against a defense that's really, really solid. So I think it'll be a great matchup. I don't think that Missouri's going to win. I think that they'll be competitive, hopefully, in the first half, and Georgia Georgia will probably pull away in the second half. But both of these teams have kind of had an up and down season a little bit, and they've been inconsistent at times. And Georgia's blown people out and had close games that just don't make sense, and Missouri's kind of done the same. I'm not sure very many outcomes in this game surprise me. If Georgia blows us out by 4 touchdowns, I'm not surprised whatsoever. If Missouri squeaks out a win, I'm not sure I'm shocked either, but I definitely don't expect it.
Missouri's offense being super successful would be a surprise.
Yeah.
A welcome one. But it would be a surprise. Yeah. I just think that they've shown enough this year that against a good defense, they are prone to struggle.
Yeah.
And
they've taken advantage of bad defenses. Yeah. And they've been mediocre against pretty decent defenses. So that's a good point. I don't know. I've got Georgia winning this one. We'll go with 42-28.
That's like almost exactly how Georgia score when they lose.
Oh,
but you got to flip it around there.
True.
I'm leaning more towards Georgia's 6 wins. They win 33-13, so I'm thinking something like 35-17.
Hey, maybe one of us will get close.
Yeah. And neither one of us will get close if Missouri wins. So
we'll take that.
Hopefully we're both very wrong.
Just for kicks,
yes.
I averaged the Missouri score against Alabama and Florida, and it's 39.5. to 18. So it's not that far off from what Georgia's is.
Interesting. Thank you for that.
Thank you, research department. Yeah,
Wow.
that was great.
Okay, so unfortunately,
It's gonna be a tough game, but
winning streak might come to an end, but that doesn't,
I don't care what happens in this game. Nothing can take away
The great
this,
thing,
this season.
the best part is we still get to play Mississippi State.
Yeah, we'll hopefully get to finish we might play bowl game too, but we might get to finish the regular season on a win. But yeah, this is gonna be a tough one.
I was hoping we'd finally play Nebraska in a bowl game, but I guess everybody's eligible.
That is true.
You never know.
Extra practices.
Okay, Kyle, we got to this is gonna be a heck of an episode. We're rolling here, and we still have a lot to get to.
We didn't even talk about news.
No, we've got news, and we have to pick some games, and then we have to talk about basketball.
Holy.
I'm saying this out loud so that I am forced to do it. There's going to be timestamps in this episode.
That's a great idea.
So you can zip around to the content you most want to get to. It's such a long episode.
It's a great idea.
That this one will be. Early signing period is fast upon us. It will come and go most likely before we talk again.
Yep.
And then we also have just some specific Mizzou football news. Let me get those out of the way real quick. Adam Sparks, we knew before the Arkansas game, he opted out of the rest of the season. He's not in the transfer portal.
I don't get it, to be honest. Yeah. And honestly, we're a little bit short on quarterbacks this week because Jarvis Ware's hurt.
Yeah.
And something happened to somebody else. But Adam Sparks would probably play quite a bit this week, and he is opting out.
Trey Williams is transferring.
And I don't get that either. He literally walked with the seniors against Arkansas, was celebrated with the seniors, and he's going to play somewhere else next year.
He's going to use that extra year of
he was
eligibility.
He was like a starter.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
And then 2 players out versus Georgia due to COVID-19 contact tracing. We don't know who they are. Hopefully, we never know who they are because it doesn't matter because they wouldn't have played anyway.
Connor Bazelak and Nick Bolton.
Oh, my gosh. It's like, well, at least we probably weren't going to beat Georgia anyway.
There you go.
Good to see what Brady Cook can do. So early signing period. We're gonna see some fireworks, Kyle.
Yeah, we are. It's gonna be a fun one. Sometimes signing day is a little boring, and last year I think it was kind of one of those times where everybody signed and we didn't really flip anyone, and I think we had a random running back like follow Barry Odom to Arkansas, and so that was like, okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
This year I think it's gonna be different. I think it's gonna be pretty exciting, and I think a lot of things are gonna go Mizzou's way this time.
We already are. I'm already in love with this class.
Oh man, it's great.
And then you see some developments. You see some stuff on 24/7 Sports, like East St. Louis wide receiver Dominic Lovett get crystal ball. He's a hard commit. It says right at the top of my screen here to the Arizona State Sun Devils. He did that back in September. However, crystal ball predictions 100% to Missouri. And they are confident, highly confident, with an 8 out of 10.
Something switched in the last few days with Dominic Lovett, and like you said, 4-star wide receiver from East St. Louis and
teammate of
Tyler Macon, and who's going to sign with Mizzou. And whenever he committed to Arizona State, it kind of felt like, well, it was one of those ones where you just kind of said, long way to go. And that seems a little strange, but I don't think this one's completely over. And so to hear that, something has changed, whether it, I heard maybe his mother wanted him to be a little bit closer to home, whatever it is, he decided he wanted to team up with Tyler Macon, which seemed like what was going to be the plan all along anyway.
Right.
Whatever happened, it doesn't really shock me. And it
doesn't matter to me. What happened?
It doesn't matter. I'm really happy. He's a incredible playmaker. He's a burner. He's got great hands. He's kind of the total package, and it's exciting.
Anything else for the 2021 class that we need to be aware of?
A couple of names to watch. Well, Dante Balfour is a cornerback from Florida. He's down to Auburn and Mizzou. So I'm not sure exactly when he's announcing. It might be signing day, but keep an eye out for that. That's a pretty strong cornerback prospect. And then just earlier today, I read on Twitter that Coach Drinkwitz specifically said that they've got about 5 players they're really trying to add to this class, and whether that be uncommitted guys or guys they're trying to flip. So there's clearly like several people out there that we will know about probably in the next week that we don't know now. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, and if they don't get those 5 guys, they'll hit the transfer market, which I'm assuming they probably will have to do that for at least a couple positions. That's pretty normal whenever you're getting started somewhere. Isaac Thompson. Second guy of the 2022 class. 4-star safety from St. Louis. That was a huge commitment. We kind of knew around the time that he was announcing that Mizzou had a pretty good shot there.
We discussed it on here when the commitment was coming up, and we were kind of thinking, thank good. Oh, yes, I remember now.
It was down to Michigan and Missouri.
And we knew John Harbaugh wouldn't be able to close the deal.
Yeah. Good one.
If you know, you know.
Good one. Yeah. Anyways, that's a huge commitment, and obviously, I think that is probably the highest rated recruit of the Drinkwitz era so far. And not only is that just, if you're just looking at it like, yeah, that's a great player coming to Mizzou, but that's so good for the perception in the state of making it kind of like cool to go to Mizzou again. You know, that the top players in the state. There seems to really be a trend around going and playing for the home state, and we haven't seen that in a really long time. And I really think that Isaac Thompson's going to be able to get some other really talented players on board, and he specifically mentions Xavier Nwankpa from Iowa and Toriano Pride from Lutheran North as guys he wants to bring along with him, and they're both like 4-star cornerbacks. So I believe the 2022 class will be unlike anything we've seen at Mizzou in a while, and just mixed with the hype around Mizzou in the state and the talent in that class is unbelievable. And so I really think it could be incredibly exciting.
Isaac Thompson, you mentioned his rating being the highest of the Drinkwitz era. I was just comparing it to Travion Ford. Travion Ford, 208th in his class nationwide. And that's the number 1 player in the 2021 class from Missouri. Isaac Thompson's 160.
Yeah.
So that's a noticeable step towards the top of the rankings.
Isaac Thompson had like 35 offers of just top tier programs in the country. He could have truly have gone anywhere.
One 2022 guy that's committing soon is Arlen Harris Jr., running back. He's from St. Louis as well, right?
I believe so.
He's kind of had an interesting recruitment. 24/7 Sports had him 100% to Iowa very recently, and then that switched to Stanford. But they also consider they've got all of his top 5 as like warm on his recruiting trail.
Yeah, I'm not sure as much on that one where he's going to end up. It seems like you said, it's been a little bit more all over the place, a little more unpredictable. But we'd like to have him.
Ready to switch gears to basketball? No, we got to pick some games.
Pick some games.
Psych.
Nebraska, coming through for me.
I think you might have locked it up this past week.
No.
I have no idea.
How many weeks do we even have left?
2.
Yeah.
Mizzou has 2 games
and
left.
Don't forget bonus weeks.
Yeah, SEC championship game.
There you go. 20 points for a win.
Oh, shoot.
I've just been biding my time.
Joe Biden.
Alrighty. Whatever week it is, you guys ended up Kyle with 5 points, Cameron with 4. Sorry. Already noticed an error. Kyle got 6 points.
Oh.
Stop the count.
Oh, you said.
Kyle has 51. Cameron has 47.
I feel like our percentage is great of picking games this year. I feel like we've been killing it.
Yeah, we should have been betting the money line on all of these. Yeah, pick the winner. Make money. You disagree?
No, I don't disagree.
All right.
Just staring blankly at you. I agree.
All right, game number one. Number one, Alabama at Arkansas. Alabama is a 32-point favorite.
Alabama.
Wow. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, I'll take Alabama.
What you?
Alabama.
Brahma. Okay, we want Brahma.
All right. Game number two, Tennessee at Vanderbilt. Tennessee is a 16-point favorite.
I guess Tennessee.
I guess. Give me JG.
I don't think he is their quarterback anymore.
I don't know or care.
LSU at number 6, Florida. Florida is a 23-point favorite.
23. Wow.
That's a big number. I wish LSU would win that.
Florida's already got the East locked up.
Yep.
They might be sleepwalking.
I'll take Florida.
Give me Florida.
Auburn at Mississippi State. Auburn is a 6.5-point favorite.
It's throwing me off because I don't know what game number this is.
4.
Okay.
That was throwing you off. Okay. Yeah, I agree. It's good to know. Now I know who I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick Auburn because Mississippi State is fraudulent.
They're fraudulent, so they're actually good? Because everybody thinks they're bad. I'll take Auburn.
Good point.
Mississippi State was ranked 16th after they beat
They
LSU.
were fraudulent earlier this year. Now they're
yeah.
just bad and everyone knows it.
Yes.
That's all the SEC games.
Did we disagree on anything?
No.
No,
We're boring.
shocker.
He's like so
the
mad.
The spreads are so big.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Like
SEC,
the last like 4 weeks, it's been like that.
SEC's a little top heavy.
Missouri's in the top.
Oh, yeah. They're not the heavy part, though.
No. All right. Minnesota at Nebraska. Nebraska is a 10.5-point favorite.
What's Minnesota's record?
I thought Minnesota was decent.
I thought they rode the boat.
No.
That was a thing.
Rowed the boat.
Row
the boat. Okay.
I thought they did it past tense.
I got you. You put a past tense D on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I thought you meant like they rode on it.
no. They row it, and they rode it previously.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
What's his face?
Matty Mock trucked that guy. Long time ago.
I was asking you what the coach's name was, and you said Matty Mock.
I
don't
knew
know.
what you were asking. I can't think of it, though.
Me either.
Minnesota's 2-3.
2-3. The Big Ten is a mess.
It's so
Okay.
dumb.
They've played a combined 17 games.
All right, give me Minnesota.
Okay, I'll take Nebraska. Nebraska's at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota's winning that.
How many? What's Nebraska's record?
2-4.
10-point favorite.
Don't take the points.
Don't take the points, he says.
I don't know what that means.
All right, well, go Nebraska.
Go Gophers. Golden Gophers.
Oh, yeah. They're golden.
Mm.
All right, now can we talk basketball?
Please.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to because we have to talk about the results of our 3-on-3 draft poll where I got destroyed. And Kyle's just loving every minute of it because he planned this all out, folks. Let me tell you about it.
Back to back.
Back to back?
Did you win last year?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Probably
Smith,
not.
and Smith?
No. Smith,
Yeah, they lost.
Okay,
Smith's.
That's true.
The law
Anyway.
firm didn't win.
Continue.
I picked Torrance Watson, and I think Kyle had inside scoop knowledge that he was just really not going to be a part of the game plan
Yeah,
this
it's
year.
called watching last season.
Oh, okay. Shots fired. And he waited till 4 games in, however many, to post the poll when Torrance Watson basically hasn't played. And I don't think he's even taken a shot. That's not true. But yes, Producer Cameron, Missouri Sports Podcast.
So, it'd be interesting if we did the poll at the end of the season, but you guys pick at the beginning. So everyone would have all the knowledge of the players over the season.
Well, that's a thought. We'll have to see. What was the final result of the poll?
I don't know.
It was bad.
Let me look really quick.
Yeah.
Can you stall?
Yes.
It's tainted.
Can you sing a little song?
I had
Anyway.
Drew Smith, Torrance Watson, Jeremiah Tillman, which is an unbeatable squad. Yes.
We should figure out a way. Are you ready?
I am.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, okay. 182 votes. Kyle received 64% of the votes.
Dang. We should find a way, some kind of algorithm.
Yeah.
That's probably another word to use there. but
Bart Torvik could probably help us. Yeah.
basically make a point system for each players, and then at the end of the season figure out a way to actually have some kind of score.
I think Bart Torvik has already done it for us, and we can use his abilities. But I like where your head's
thanks
at.
to him.
Yeah. Mark Smith. He loves Mark Smith. Bart Torvik does. All right. Before we really start recapping these games, we need to let everybody know, we got bad news. No Bass Pro Tournament of Champions in the year 2021. And that is exceptionally abysmal because Kickapoo is going to be in it, and they have 2 Mizzou commits. And Smet was going to be in it, and they have a Mizzou commit, although he's hurt. So he wasn't going to play anyway, but he'd probably been there.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to get to interview Yaya Kita, Anton Brookshire, Dervon Bazil. It was going to be great. But
it's very sad.
Yes. After all the near misses, if you paid attention to any of our Tournament of Champions coverage, we've been heartbroken a few times by just the way that things are falling with Mizzou commits or non-commits being there, missing out on commits after their team was there, that kind of stuff.
Having to watch E.J. Liddell will be really good.
Yes. E.J. Liddell. So now don't lose all hope. Since Anton Brookshire is local, we'll maybe see what we can do.
They can come back for another year of eligibility at Kickapoo.
Yes, I've heard that that's likely, except not at all. All right. No Tournament of Champions. Sad news. But just needed to fill everybody in on that.
Thanks.
Aminu Muhammad was going to be there. It's going to be great showing. But let's talk about Mizzou basketball and how they are off to a 4-0 start after 2 more wins against Wichita State and Liberty. And I want to point out, I did predict 3 wins at the end of our episode last week. I said, we'll see you next week after 3 wins.
Yeah, you did.
Very quietly, so that nobody would know that I said it if they lost.
Thanks.
Any kind of top-level thoughts on this Mizzou team that's 4-0?
Obviously they've played really well. They've won in different ways, which I think is good to see. Tillman has been pretty solid and consistent, which is what we need. He's just kind of gone out there and quietly gets about 10 and 10 a game.
Playing a lot of minutes, eating up those minutes.
Yeah. Penson really struggled in one of these games, I think with Wichita State, where he just he only scored 1 bucket from the field, and he bounced back with a good performance against Liberty. So
he's lost his shot from deep all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Over his last 10.
I knew that could probably happen. That's really, I still don't really know that that's his strength or what we want him to do. I think he creates offense by driving and getting to the basket and making great passes and that kind of stuff. He obviously can shoot from 3, and he did it very well against Oregon maybe or earlier in the season. But he's not been shooting very well the last couple of games.
Yeah, 0 for 7 from 3 against Wichita State. The rest of the team 6 for 13. So
it's truly like Mark Smith carrying us in the 3-point shooting game right now. The rest of the team, unfortunately, kind of looks like they did last year, just inefficient and not making shots consistently from 3. But Mark Smith has been phenomenal.
Yeah, Drew's doing okay, but those two, they're definitely carrying the scoring load with Penson struggling a little bit. Drew is at 42% from 3, but Mark Smith 52% from 3.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so probably looking at some regression there eventually, but there's still plenty of room to be above 40%.
Yeah, and he's been scoring from more than just shooting the 3 this year too. He's been getting to the basket and making the defense guard him in different levels.
Getting the free throw line a little bit.
Yeah.
Both Drew Smith and Mark Smith are playing over 80% of their available minutes. And that's something that we just haven't been able to see from Mark Smith because of injuries. He has topped out at around 50% just because he's missed so much time with injuries over the years. Mm-hmm. So getting a full season out of him playing 30 minutes a game is going to do wonders for this offense, I think.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to jinx it, but I don't believe in that. So a full season of Konzo and the staff having all the guys they expect to have and they expect to lean on for a full season, they literally just haven't had it in 3 seasons in Missouri. And to have that this year will just be, I don't know. I think this team can maybe live up to some of the hype that we're seeing right now, even though the SEC will be a challenge. Getting back into these last two games, though, we were talking about annoying fan bases and just kind of annoyances in sports in general. This Liberty game was one of the most annoying things I've ever watched in my life.
It was awful.
And Kyle, I don't know if you know, we have to go to Virginia to play Liberty next year.
Why do they do that?
That's a head scratcher of a
to
scheduling situation there.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. But I guess we'll worry about that next year.
Yeah.
Because next year is going to be a totally different team than they've got now.
Right.
Yeah, Liberty definitely presented some challenges that we haven't really seen this year, like kind of schematically. We didn't really match up that well with them, and they have 5 players that can all shoot really well, and they were moving around a lot at the beginning of this game. Like Tillman looked like he was on skates early on in the game.
They were bringing him out to the perimeter every single possession.
And he could not guard them out at the perimeter. It presented some challenges for sure.
Their point guard, McGee, I think his name was, he was just kind of like knifing in there. He was doing a little bit of a Xavier Pinson impression.
Yeah.
Where he was just getting to the rim in weird ways. And
they just kept pulling Tillman out, and that would just clear up the middle. And they were getting to the bucket in creative ways. Yeah.
Missouri got better in the second half. They kind of, made their rotations a little bit sharper. They got to the ball faster on some closeouts, and that made all the difference. The final score of that Wichita State game on the road, I might add, was 72-62, and then the final score of the Liberty game at home was 69-60. Liberty they're the only good team. They're the only even remotely good team in their conference. They're going to be favored in every single conference game, and the majority of them by double digits. They are almost a sure thing NCAA tournament team, even out of a one-bid league. So they're going to rack up a lot of wins, and I think it's possible that this win looks better. It's likely that it looks better at the end of the season than it does right now. And Liberty helped out a lot by knocking off 2 SEC teams earlier in the season. So they're
a decent program, and they probably would have been in the 12-13 range of the seeding of the NCAA tournament last year, and I'm pretty sure they were in it 2 years ago too. So they're a decent program, and that was definitely like a sneaky, tough game, and I'm really glad we emerged.
Such an annoying style, though. Just like, I don't know.
It was not fun to watch.
The announcers at one point were like, I don't want to call them slow. Like, they're not necessarily slow. And like, I think it was Sunvold that was like, they're not slow. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're absolutely slow. Like slowest 5 teams in the country according to KenPom adjusted tempo.
Yeah, they're very, very calculated. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like honestly, when Konzo Martin watches tape of Liberty, he's probably like, oh yeah, this is my type of team. Like he's
probably like, oh no, we got to play these guys.
Yeah, but I honestly think he probably really respects the X's and O's of it.
Yeah, because
you can win a lot of games by perfecting that style. I mean, that's what Virginia has that's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
Anything about those 2 games particular, anything that stand out to you? I want to talk about the rotations here in a minute, but
I do want to point out that I perfectly guessed the margin of victory against Wichita State as 10 points, and I almost had it against Liberty. I projected like a 11-point win, and it was 9, I think, or something. But
very well done.
I was just
making up for those bad,
really proud of myself.
Football predictions.
Yeah,
score predictions.
Yeah.
Good to see Missouri win on the road against Wichita State.
Mm-hmm. That's another big win that before the season started, I wasn't sure we were going to pull that one off.
Yeah. So rotations. It seems like it's pretty locked in, and it's kind of weird to see Missouri like just have such a solid identity this early in the season, because last year we were talking about how Konzo Martin was playing like 12 guys, and a majority of them were getting too many minutes, and he's had seasons where he's like subbing guys out every 2 minutes, and it's just kind of a revolving door.
Yeah, I've always wondered why they do that, and it's like he's just kind of trying to see who's hot today and throw everybody out there and let them get a chance.
It always settles, but it just seems like it settles so late in the season that potentially it has cost you maybe a couple wins in the non-conference or early conference season, and you just kind of need to figure out what's going to work a lot faster typically.
Yeah, and part of that is Tillman being able to stay in the game, but I love that they're just kind of going with 7 or 8 guys who are giving them the best minutes.
Yeah, so those 7 so far in these 4 games have been Drew Smith, Xavier Pinson, Mark Smith, Kobe Brown, Jeremiah Tillman, then off the bench, Javon Pickett, Mitchell Smith. That's been the 7 that have been solid, and Mitchell Smith often playing more minutes than Kobe Brown, and he'll come in and play the 5. He'll play the 4 with Tillman. They did that a couple times against Liberty. One interesting rotation that I actually liked quite a bit was Tillman with Drew, X, Mark, and Drew Buggs.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I think one of our most successful rotations included all 3 guards like that.
Yeah,
well, 4 guards, I guess.
Yeah, when you 3-point guards really, and when you're having turnover issues like Missouri was in the first half of the Liberty game, it's like the more ball handlers the better. Yeah. Although it was, Pinson was a big problem was one of the main issues with turnovers against Liberty. But this team's so different when Tillman. I saw an annoying thread. We'll get to Illinois in a sec, but I saw an annoying Twitter exchange with just random fans talking about Tillman and how he's a different player this year. And the Illinois fan showed a screenshot of his points per game each year and how it's exactly the same as it ever has been. And then obviously I don't expect them to be watching Mizzou basketball regularly, but the difference is he's staying on the floor, not fouling out of games, not getting in foul trouble, and him just being in the game, he affects so many shots at the defensive end. Yeah,
you can be a good player without scoring points, or you can do good things for the team.
And he's always done that. Just spends too much time on the bench. Yeah. And he changes how the perimeter players can play defense when he's back there to kind of clean anything up or affect a shot. I think it's really helpful for guys like Drew Smith to be able to gamble a little bit more on defense, knowing that he's back there and can help him out.
He was getting double teamed a lot against Liberty.
Yeah, you get used to that.
I still think that I wish that he could get the ball out to the perimeter quicker. But I did notice that he did set up Mark Smith for a 3 really nice in the second half last night. He knew the double team was coming, he felt it, and immediately just threw like a cross court, like a wide open Mark Smith for a 3.
I think like the first play against Wichita State, they got it down to him, he got doubled, and he dished it to Kobe Brown for a layup.
Yeah. That's one area that he can really develop, and I mean that's how you want to stop getting double teamed. That's how you do it, is prove that you can fight through it and you can find the open guy.
Yeah. Well, we already mentioned Torrance Watson, kind of an odd man out in the guard rotation. He got into the game against Liberty when Pinson was ice cold from the field, and I texted you and I was like, okay, Watson's got to be in this game to shoot. Like maybe he can get something going here. When Missouri's offense couldn't get anything going, nope, he was in there for like 2 minutes. Yeah, didn't take a shot.
I think he's kind of a defensive liability.
Man, it's a struggle to understand what's going on with him. But
it's a bummer.
I don't know. They'll need something out of him next year with all the guards that are going to be leaving. So we'll see.
Yeah, and you hope that he stays because he may not get a whole lot of playing time this year.
Right. Parker Brown's in kind of a similar situation where he has something to contribute for sure, but you don't want to need him. And if Tillman and Mitchell Smith can do what they're doing, then and he just has spot minutes or he's there in case of foul trouble, I'm not going to really complain about it.
He provides some good minutes. He's got a nice looking shot, and he's just like really athletic. Had some nice plays when he's been in there. But yeah, I agree. You probably don't want to be playing him more than 20, 25 minutes a game.
So Missouri at 4-0, they actually were like 41st in KenPom. Now they've dropped down to 43rd. They are number 22 on Bart Torvik. He has them projected to be a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that would be all of my wildest dreams come true for
I
this
like
team.
that guy.
Yeah, he likes Missouri apparently. Is that realistic? I think
Probably not.
Probably not. I think he's got him at like 19 wins on the season. So
if everybody can stay healthy all year, you never know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, with the way they looked, I mean, I was pretty sure that this Liberty game was going to be just weird enough that they wouldn't be able to pull it out. But they had an excellent second half where they just kind of...
There was like a 2 or 3 minute stretch towards the end of the second half where they just completely took over.
Oh, yeah.
And that was really fun to watch.
Yeah,
but
it was good to see Penson be a part of that,
extended the lead out to like double digits. Yeah.
Ready to talk about this Illinois game?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Oof. Illinois is 4-1. Their only losses to potentially the best team in the country, Baylor.
Yeah.
And they just beat Duke at Cameron Indoor Stadium. And now after that, Coach K is ready to cancel the season.
They're done playing non-conference games after that.
That's insane.
It's so dumb.
That is insane.
It's so like easy just to see right through.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
I feel like Coach K, Duke's Coach K, has been like just transparently unlikable the last... some people would say he's always been that way, but from an unbiased observer, I'd like to think, I don't know, he had some redeeming qualities all along, but lately it's just like you seem so out of touch and not honest in some ways, like with recruiting scandals and, you know, him just kind of pushing that aside, like
giving non-answers.
Yeah, that's not something we deal with here.
Yeah.
And now with this, like this concern over playing the season.
Now he's concerned about COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not withdrawing from conference play for whatever reason.
Yeah. Just these pointless games that you keep losing.
Yeah. These non-conference games, you know, they're too much of a risk.
Yeah. I don't know how much he really thought through the perception of that was going to have, or he just doesn't care.
I don't think he needs to think through it anymore. Or he hasn't for a while probably.
Yeah. Yeah, he obviously can't be coaching that much longer. I'm afraid he's going to go out on a weird note.
Yeah.
For an incredible career.
Right. Illinois, though, they did struggle in their one top 100 opponent with their other top 100 opponent, Ohio, before this game. They blew out two just awful, like 300 level teams at home to start the season. They're 15th in KenPom, 12th on offense, 31st on defense. And, of course, we know the cast of characters. Trent Frazier, he's pulling a Kevin Purrier.
He's pulling a Larry Roundtree.
Exactly. He's going to be there for a few years. What if he comes back? He uses that extra year of eligibility.
Might as well. I'm not sure he's really like an NBA-type player.
Yeah. Two guys that probably are, though, are Ayo Dosunmu and Kofi Coburn.
Yeah, they're loaded.
Yeah. They're very good. They're probably going to win the Big Ten. Big Ten's always a really good conference.
Yeah. They don't seem to play with as much tempo as like you might think of when you think of them, but they're so athletic, and I'm worried about Dosunmu and how well he can get to the basket. I mean, he's just borderline unstoppable at times. And then, of course, if Trent Frazier's on, you know, we saw that a few years ago in the bragging rights game where Frazier was just money all night, and that was awful. And it's kind of weird. This game just seems to not matter really how good the two teams are on a season-long basis. This game's just always close, or
throw out the records,
or the team that has a worse season ends up winning, and that it's just none of that stuff seems to matter in this game. And it'll be really interesting to see how it's plays out, not being on a neutral floor, no crowd. Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
I'm thankful that Missouri is 4-0 going into this game, because I don't think they win it, and they could have fairly easily. I mean, if Mark Smith just doesn't shoot as well as he does, I mean, they've been able to overcome one of their key pieces in Penson having two bad games. Mm-hmm. And that's because everybody else has been solid, if not fantastic. I mean, most of Missouri's roster so far this season is posting better offensive rating than they have in their career. So the fact that they're undefeated going into this game, it makes me not worry about it as much. And yeah, you're playing a top 15 team, and if you lose, no big deal. Yeah, it doesn't derail your season in any way.
I agree.
Missouri's been in the bragging rights game where they almost have to have a win to salvage a acceptable season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's really no downside to playing this game. If Missouri wins, they're really good, and they're going to be a top 25 team. And it's great for perception in the Midwest. If they lose, they're supposed to, and they're going to probably still have a decent season, and it doesn't really change anything.
Especially if they look decent and lose, then that won't change my outlook for the SEC schedule whatsoever.
Yeah. But I mean, we've got a lot of momentum though, and man, what a win would be just incredible.
Yeah. You were daydreaming before we hit record about a victory over Illinois on the hoop side and a victory over Georgia in the same day.
What I mean, okay, well, I've seen this question going around on Twitter, and I'm pretty sure I know what your answer is going to be for both questions. But what would you rather have? Would you rather have a win over Illinois, or do you rather have a win over Georgia? And which one do you think is more likely?
That's really tough.
It really is.
Which one do I think is more likely? Basketball beating Illinois, I think, is more likely. Yeah. I mean, just ask some of these predictive analytics sites. KenPom has it as a 1-point Mizzou victory. Yeah. A coin flip.
I agree.
So that one definitely more likely. Which would I rather have is such an interesting question. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would be able to obviously answer this question a lot easier if the Mizzou basketball season was almost over, and I knew what it would mean for an NCAA tournament. Yeah. In such a weird year for football, Eli Drinkwitz's first season beating Georgia and then probably beating Mississippi State, having 7 wins.
Which would in a normal year be like 9.
Yeah.
Having like an incredible season on Missouri standards in his first year ever.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we'd be talking about third most SEC wins. Yeah. For a single season.
Like really good bowl game, most likely.
Yeah. But conversely, you're looking at a quadrant 1 win. I mean, that's a resume. That's like top of the resume.
Mm-hmm. I think the only reason why I think I would pick that I'd rather beat Illinois is because something I said earlier is I think this football season is already a success. Yeah. And, I'd love to beat Georgia. But, I think about the season probably the same way if we lose on Saturday to Georgia. So, yeah. And, the basketball team, we don't really know what the ceiling is yet. And a win over Illinois is just, I mean, the trajectory of the season is astronomical.
Yeah. The expectations for the season change completely. Yeah. So, yeah, you've convinced me. I'd rather have the Illinois win. It's more likely, so that almost makes it more important. The fact that nobody really thinks the football team can beat Georgia, then it's like, well. And
just the game within the game, of dealing with the fan bases and just being able to have bragging rights for another year is obviously something that's great.
And obviously there's other situations where I would much rather beat Georgia in football if, the East title was on the line or something like that. Yeah. Ooh, what a play!
What a great spot we're in though, to be able to be in this position and have a chance to knock off 2 top 10 teams in both sports on Saturday. I mean, it's just
very recently there has been times where you ask a Mizzou fan, would you rather beat Georgia in football or Illinois in basketball? They would literally say, who cares? Like a win of those games, it's so not on my radar. Yeah. Why
neither one will never happen or something. Yeah. I mean, it's great. It's fun to be a Mizzou fan right now. A lot of great, exciting things. It's awesome.
I was looking up Illinois stats, And Trent Frazier shooting 50% from 3.
Oh.
And Asamu is shooting 42%. And then they've got this freshman, Adam Miller, who's playing a ton of minutes. And he's shooting 42% as well. So, yeah. It's, I don't know. But Missouri's defense has been very good.
Yeah. We've got 2 huge opportunities on Saturday. I'm not sure either one is a win, but it's a huge day.
Let's look decent in both of them. I have to change my mind. I have to correct the record.
Okay.
I'm not changing my mind. Ken Palm has it. Still a coin flip, but it's actually Illinois by 1 point. But basically 50-50. That makes all the difference. Is that it?
Did we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, it's not quite as long as I thought it would be. But, we probably could have. Man, I don't know. Sometimes on these certain topics, I could just go forever.
Oh, yeah.
And when it's so exciting, there's definitely been times where we're doing this podcast after like 3 losses. Like football, like when the overlap is happening and football team loses and basketball team loses 2 games, and you're like,
yeah,
we're going to have to come in here and talk about 3 losses.
Yeah.
And all 5 of our listeners during that time, when Mizzou's losing, they're like, all right, we're here with you guys, and we appreciate that. We appreciate everybody that is here.
We've definitely done a few, like, all right, guys, stick with us.
Yeah.
We got to make it through some rough patches. We honestly, since we've started this podcast a few years ago, Mizzou's not really been that good at anything.
Yeah.
And
had some stretches where there's bright spots.
Yeah. But this year has been really fun, and it's been really different, and I'm thankful for it, and
you can feel the momentum.
Yeah, I hope that you guys are enjoying it as well.
This is just jumping right back into it, but the 24/7 Sports updated their basketball recruiting rankings for 2021, and Trayvon Brazil got a huge jump and helped Missouri's recruiting class rankings a little bit. So
that's great.
Momentum on both sides.
Feels good.
Let's just keep it close on Saturday in both games, and I'll be happy.
Win one of them, and I'll be absolutely thrilled.
I don't even need that, honestly.
All right, everybody.
It's going to be the most relaxed I've been watching Mizzou games in a while, though.
You say that. We'll see how it goes. Okay,
guys.
Wait,
what's your score prediction for Illinois?
Oh, my God. I'll say 74-70 Illinois.
I'm going to say low scoring 66-63 Illinois. Missouri's offense.
Sorry, guys.
Yikes.
Okay. We did predict winning against Arkansas, so we got that. So.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
Never in doubt.
Of course. Okay, guys, for the 18th time, you can find the podcast on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find t-shirts, stickers, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week.